We're going to go to James Abel now, and Jim has a few people that he's representing there from your constituency. So go ahead.
Great, thank you, Carla. Shane, how are you?
Say again.
Okay.
Can anyone hear me?
Okay, go ahead. Right? Yeah, your internet is quite spotty.
Might have to flip the video off. I find that helps sometimes.
Okay, I will do that.
Okay, thank you, sir.
How is that? Is that better?
That is better.
Yep, that's better.
Okay. Shane, a longtime Albertan. I've been a PC, or a conservative, I should say, supporter for my entire life at federal and provincial level. So just so you know where my loyalties have lied, I've been had a successful 30-year career with a major communications company, and now I'm semi-retired and now a small business owner in this area. My question is very basic, getting back to basics, just so we kind of get a better feel for yourself and how you see your position. You've answered it somewhat in some of your other answers to questions, but how do you see your role as an MLA? Is it as a representative, and what does that mean to you?
Yeah, so absolutely as a representative. And that means, again, to me, is representing all the constituents of Lac Ste and Parkland.
So how, I guess, follow up to that is, how do you get the perspective of your constituency? I understand you have town hall meetings, you have meetings like this, you do surveys, which you did recently in response or in regards to the COVID situation and the government's response to it. I responded to that survey, and I'd love to see, as a follow-up, I'd love to see the results of that survey that you compiled. And so how do you, and how do you see your opinion playing into your representation of your constituents?
Great questions, Jim. So again, I can do point of reference. And again, my point of reference of doing this as an elected representative, I really hate the word politician, because that's the reason why I ran, because I thought the worst thing about politics is there was too many politicians involved. So initially, the way I did it was literally I trap lined. So when we go on to major projects, and predominantly linear construction is what I was involved with, both fiber optics, coincidentally, it was one of my first jobs as a young field engineer, was when we installed, along CP rail and started being part of the SuperNet way back when. So be interested to talk to you about some rural internet connections later as well, we're working on. But when you go into a new area, you might understand that you kind of drop into the local leaders, you drop into the local cafes. And that's where most people gather and have their dialogues, and they converse in a natural basis. And once you're there, everybody realizes you're the stranger in the room. The first time they might not come over and talk to you, the second or third time they're definitely talking to you. So what I did initially with the nomination is I kind of took that same tack that we did in pipelines. And I worked all across North America on that. I managed groups that were, I had one office out of Superior, Wisconsin, one in Duluth. We had another project going down in Montana, one in Eddystone, Pennsylvania, and then Edmonton and Calgary teams as well. So I used that same model where you drop out to these different locations, you listen in. I did that during the nomination. I literally went around to all the cafes, dropped into those places and locations, and I started talking to people. And then once they were comfortable with it, the store owners actually asked me if they could have some questionnaire. So I would literally hand these darn things out. And then I would have, when I wasn't there, the constituents were filling them out, telling me what their 4 or 5 main items were. And that's what I campaigned on. That was literally taking that information forward. That same model worked after I was elected until we got up to this point where COVID hit last year and we had to change everything. So then it came down to a modified approach from that. I tried to hit as many people as possible. You've got community events, you get engaged and involved, invited out to different things like, to Carla's point, like a golf tournament. You might have a fundraiser for a children's society and you meet a lot of people there as well. That was interesting to do that. And then the current state is we've been scratching our heads trying to figure out how to reach as many people as possible. Social media is good, but it's almost like candy. A little bit too much is good. A lot will make your teeth rot, because it's difficult to find out how many, and I found this out too, what trolls are. I used to think there were the things under the bridge, but apparently there's a bunch of them out in social. So you can't skew what some of the vitriol that's coming out from there is. Meeting people and talking to them is working. We're trying these virtual town halls. We did, I'm not sure if you heard my town hall presentation talking about CERB and cheesies. I mean, that went over well. It made national news. So you get these snippets and these bites here and there, and that's literally how we interface and do it. So it's, James, it's very difficult. We get a lot of letters, we get a lot of phone calls, and then we're trying to lean on this right now. And then also touching base on what I call them community captains, people that are leaders that are kind of either faith leaders or community leaders in their area that kind of touch base. And, you know, to this point, Carla, I would consider one of those community captains or leaders. If she could bring together a group, then we would probably do follow-up to somebody like that would kind of keep us in touch and keep us informed. And then the second part of your question is how much does my own personal weigh into it?
You have 30 seconds.
Elected representation, so you've kind of delegated your authority to me a lot of the time. So this is not a direct democracy. You, whoever voted for me or didn't at this point, too bad I won. You got the guy here that's going to make decisions and represent the best possible. There is not an ability to go back to every single person and run an election every single time we have to make a decision. There's items where of conscience, or if I don't have that depth or don't think I have it, I've proposed that in the past to go to these town halls and have like a little mini referendum so I can really get the pace on it. And those are typically more of a social nature of those lines, social connotations that I don't feel I have a good line of breadth, and I would want a lot of people to weigh in on it. So hopefully that answers your question.